Admiral Tyro slammed his fist on the console in disgust, his alien lips curling into a sneer as he read reports detailing skirmishes with the pathetic human space fleet. These bothersome primates were fleas, Tyro thought, pestering the glorious Krenim Imperium. Little did he know the fleas were about to trigger an itch that would bring his empire to its knees. The arrogant admiral had no inkling that during one of these minor conflicts, a young human officer named Aaron Bennett used brilliant tactics to cripple a mighty Krenim warship before fleeing to safety. Bennett's bold maneuver impressed his superiors, who fast-tracked his promotion to captain of the EAS Indomitable, Earth's most advanced battlecruiser. Tensions simmered as the technologically dominant Krenim relentlessly encroached on human colonies, threatening to overwhelm Earth's defenses through sheer military might. Humanity's leaders knew that even the Indomitable's lethal arsenal couldn't defeat the Krenim alone. But they had an audacious plan. Intelligence operatives had uncovered a fatal flaw in the Krenim's armor, and Captain Bennett would strike at this weakness by launching a daring raid into the heart of enemy territory. Blissfully ignorant, Admiral Tyro remained convinced of Krenim supremacy and human inferiority, never suspecting the blow that Bennett was about to deal to his empire's very foundation. This first major human victory could turn the tide of war and transform Earth into a galactic powerhouse. Yet if Bennett failed, the enraged Krenim would unleash an apocalyptic onslaught, wiping out humanity's colonies and conquest dreams in one fell swoop. Countless human lives hinged on the outcome of the Indomitable's desperate gamble behind enemy lines. Aaron Bennett strode onto the bridge of the EAS Indomitable, his eyes scanning the crew as they hustled to their stations. The ship thrummed with power, ready to embark on the most critical mission of the war. Aaron's gaze settled on a familiar face at the engineering console, his old friend Mike Holloway. Mike flashed a grin. "She's purring like a kitten, Captain. The cloaking device and propulsion system are primed and ready." Aaron clasped Mike's shoulder. "Knew I could count on you. Let's show these Krenim bastards what human ingenuity can do." As the Indomitable slipped past Krenim border patrols, its cloak rendering it invisible to enemy sensors, Aaron pored over classified intel files. The key to crippling the Krenim war machine lay in a heavily fortified space station, a critical communications hub that coordinated their far-flung forces. Knock it out and the Krenim would be left scrambling, unable to effectively respond as human ships struck deep in their territory. Light years away, a frown creased Admiral Tyro's brow as a technician delivered a report. "An unauthorized intrusion? Impossible," Tyro scoffed. "No human ship could penetrate our defenses. It must be a malfunction. Go investigate and stop wasting my time with glitches." Unaware that he played right into human hands, Tyro dispatched the technician to the comm station to grit the glitch. The Indomitable covertly approached the station, Aaron and Mike making final preparations with a hand-picked strike team. They boarded a stealthed shuttle, Mike's fingers flying over his console. "Masking our approach. Now," he reported as the small craft slipped undetected into the station's docking bay. Aaron and his team moved swiftly, Mike hacking through security systems as they sabotaged defenses and seized control of vital systems. Alarm klaxons blared as the Krenim technician discovered signs of the intrusion. He lunged for the console, hurriedly broadcasting an alert just before Aaron's team burst in and trained their weapons on him. "Admiral, the humans have seized the comm station." The technician's panicked voice crackled over Tyro's comms. Tyro's lips curled in contempt. "They dare? No matter. Dispatch a warship to deal with these pests. One will be more than sufficient." As the Krenim vessel bore down on the station, the Indomitable decloaked, weapons already locked on. A fierce barrage slammed into the Krenim ship, crippling it before it could react. Tyro gaped in disbelief as Aaron's face appeared on his view screen. "Admiral Tyro," Aaron said with a cold smile, "you've underestimated us for the last time. The comm station is ours, and your forces are about to find themselves cut off and vulnerable." Tyro sputtered with rage as Aaron cut the transmission. The captain turned to his crew. "Let's hit those Krenim bastards where it hurts. We've got them on the run now." With the comm station sabotaged, Krenim forces fell into disarray, unable to mount a coordinated defense as the Indomitable and other human ships launched surgical strikes on key targets. The once smug Crenum now found themselves scrambling, their arrogant belief in their own superiority shattered as the war turned against them at the hands of the human foe they had so foolishly dismissed. Admiral Tyro paced the bridge of his flagship, fists clenched as he barked orders to his frantic crew. "Find that human ship. I want every available vessel searching." Across Crenum space, warships scrambled to form a massive armada. But Captain Aaron Bennett had anticipated this. He sat in the Indomitable's command chair, studying tactical readouts. "Mike, status on our stealth systems?" Aaron called out. "Running at peak efficiency, Captain," Mike replied from his station. "Those Crenum bastards won't see us coming." Aaron nodded. "Good. Helm, plot an intercept course for these coordinates." He tapped his console, bringing up intel on a massive Crenum shipyard. As Tyro's fleets fumbled in the dark, the Indomitable slipped past their patrol routes. Aaron briefed his crew on their next target, a planet-spanning industrial complex churning out Crenum warships. "If we take this out," Aaron explained, "we'll cripple their ability to replace losses. It's a bold move, but it could turn the tide of the war." The Indomitable dropped out of warp near the shipyard. Aaron turned to Mike. "You're up, old friend. Work your magic." Mike's fingers flew across his terminal, uploading a virus into the shipyard's systems. Alarms blared as production lines ground to a halt. "Virus deployed successfully," Mike reported with a grin. "Let's light 'em up." Aaron nodded. "All hands, battle stations. Launch fighters and target those dry docks." The Indomitable's guns opened up, pummeling the shipyard's defenses. Squadrons of Earth fighters screamed past, strafing half-built Crenum vessels. Inside the complex, panicked workers scrambled to contain the virus. But Mike's code adapted faster than they could respond, spreading like wildfire through their systems. Hour by hour, the mighty shipyard crumbled. Aaron watched with grim satisfaction as a third of the Crenum fleet's production capacity went up in flames. Suddenly, sensors lit up. "Captain!" the tactical officer shouted. "Multiple Crenum signatures incoming. It's Admiral Tyro's fleet." Aaron's mind raced. They were trapped, outnumbered, and outgunned. But he had one last card to play. "Mike, initiate Operation Rabbit Hole," Aaron ordered. Mike nodded, punching in a complex sequence. Carefully planted charges detonated around the Indomitable, tearing open an artificial wormhole. As Tyro's ships closed in for the kill, the Indomitable vanished into the swirling vortex. Aaron's face appeared on Tyro's view screen one last time. "Admiral," Aaron said coolly, "you might want to check for leaks in your own ranks. We couldn't have done this without inside help, and we're just getting started." The transmission cut off as the wormhole collapsed. Tyro howled with rage, banging his heads on his command console. But worse was yet to come. Reports flooded in of simultaneous strikes on Crenum colonies, more shipyards reduced to rubble. Tyro slumped in his chair, the full weight of the disaster crashing down on him. The humans he'd dismissed as insects had just dealt a crippling blow to the mighty Crenum Imperium. For the first time, real fear gripped the Admiral's heart. The war had changed, and the Crenum were no longer the predators. Admiral Tyro paced the bridge of his flagship, his boots clanking against the metal floor. The once proud Crenum commander now felt the weight of failure pressing down on him. His crew watched him warily, their eyes darting nervously between their agitated leader and their consoles. "Status report!" Tyro barked, his voice sharp with barely contained fury. A young officer cleared his throat. "Sir, we've lost contact with 3 more outposts. Our supply lines are in disarray and—" "Enough!" Tyro banged his hand on a nearby console, causing the officer to flinch. "I want solutions, not excuses." The bridge fell silent, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. Tyro glared at his assembled officers, daring them to speak. Finally, an older commander stepped forward. "Admiral," he said, his voice steady but tinged with concern, "perhaps we should consider a strategic withdrawal to consolidate our forces. The humans have proven more resilient than anticipated." Tyro's eyes narrowed. You suggest we run, like cowards. He stepped close to the commander, looming over him. We are Krenim. We do not flee from insects. The Admiral turned to address the entire bridge crew. Listen well. I will not allow these primates to make fools of us any longer. We will crush them here and now with the full might of the Imperium. Tyro strode to the main tactical display, calling up a holographic map of nearby systems. He jabbed a finger at a blinking icon. Intelligence reports the Indomitable is undergoing repairs at this outpost. We will strike there, hard and fast. Prepare our remaining battle groups for immediate deployment. As his crew scrambled to obey, Tyro allowed himself a predatory grin. Soon he would have Bennett's head on a pike. Days later, a massive Krenim armada dropped out of warp near the human outpost. Tyro stood at the fore of his bridge, watching as his ships moved into position. Sensors detect no enemy activity, an officer reported. Their defenses appear minimal. Tyro nodded, his confidence growing. Excellent. Commence bombardment. Leave nothing standing. The Krenim ships opened fire, their energy weapons lancing out towards the seemingly helpless outpost. Tyro watched with satisfaction as explosions blossomed across the station's surface. Suddenly, alarms blared across the bridge. Multiple detonations! A panicked crewman shouted. We're under attack! Tyro's eyes widened as he saw his mighty fleet engulfed in a storm of fire. Hidden mines and automated weapons platforms sprang to life, tearing into his ships with savage fury. It's a trap, Tyro roared, but it was too late. As his vessels reeled from the ambush, new contacts appeared on sensors, human ships emerging from stealth. Before Tyro could react, his bridge erupted in chaos. Armored figures materialized from cloaking fields, their weapons already firing. Tyro reached for his sidearm, but a stun blast caught him squarely in the chest. As darkness claimed him, his last sight was of a human soldier, Aaron Bennett himself, standing over him triumphantly. Tyro awoke in a holding cell, his head pounding. Bennett stood outside, flanked by guards. Welcome back, Admiral, the human said, his voice dripping with mock politeness. I believe we have some things to discuss. Tyro snarled, but Bennett simply smiled. Your fleet is disabled, your officers captured. You have two choices. Order your forces to stand down and withdraw from our space, or watch as we dismantle your empire piece by piece. The Krenim Admiral glared at his captor, hatred burning in his eyes. But deep down, he knew the truth. The war was lost. These humans, these fleas, had outmaneuvered him at every turn. With a heavy heart, Tyro gave the order. As he watched Bennett walk away, triumphant, he realized that everything had changed. The Krenim Imperium's days of supremacy were over, and it was all because he had underestimated a species he should have crushed when he had the chance. Aaron Bennett stood before the view screen, his face cast in the harsh glow of the transmission feed. The captured Krenim leaders, including Admiral Tyro, sat slumped and defeated behind him. Their once pristine uniforms were torn and stained, a stark visual representation of their fallen empire. People of the Krenim Imperium, Aaron began, his voice cold and unyielding. Your fleets lie in ruins. Your leaders sit captive. The war you started is over. He paused, letting the weight of his words sink in across countless Krenim worlds. These are our terms. You will withdraw all forces from human-claimed systems within one planetary cycle. Furthermore, you will surrender your ships and advanced technologies as reparations. Murmurs of shock and outrage echoed through the Krenim command centers receiving the transmission. Aaron continued, undeterred. Failure to comply will result in the complete annihilation of your remaining forces and colonies. You have one cycle to decide. The transmission cut off abruptly. Aaron turned to Mike, his shoulders heavy with the burden of his decision. Sir, Mike said hesitantly, Earth Command is hailing us. They're not happy with the ultimatum. Aaron's eyes hardened. Put them through. Admiral Chen's face appeared on the screen, her expression a mix of concern and frustration. Captain Bennett, what the hell do you think you're doing? We didn't authorize such extreme measures. With all due respect, Admiral, Aaron replied, his voice steady. We can't afford to show weakness now. The Krenim must be completely neutralized as a threat. This isn't just about military strategy, Bennett. There are diplomatic considerations. Aaron cut her off. Diplomacy is what got us into this mess. The Krenim saw our attempts at peace as weakness. We won't make that mistake again. Chen's eyes narrowed. You're treading a dangerous line, Captain. Perhaps, but I'll take full responsibility for the consequences. The call ended, leaving Aaron alone with his thoughts and the weight of his choices. Days passed. Reports flooded in of Krenim ships retreating en masse from human space. But not all complied. A handful of Krenim colonies and fleets refused to yield, clinging to their misguided belief in their own superiority. Aaron stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, surveying the tactical display of a defiant Krenim world. They've ignored our final warning, he said quietly. Prepare the bioweapon. His crew worked silently, their faces grim. A single missile launched from the Indomitable, streaking towards the planet below. Aaron watched as the weapon detonated in the atmosphere, releasing its payload. Within hours, reports came in of the necrotizing pathogen spreading rapidly through the population. Sir, a communications officer called out, her voice shaking. We're receiving a planet-wide distress call. They're begging for mercy. Aaron closed his eyes, his fists clenched at his sides. Tell them the price of mercy is unconditional surrender and disarmament, no exceptions. The scene repeated itself across multiple systems. Human ships, now augmented with captured Krenim technology, systematically crushed any remaining resistance. Colonies fell. Fleets crumbled. The once mighty Krenim Imperium was reduced to a shadow of its former self. Months later, Aaron stood at the helm of the Indomitable as it approached Earth. The ship's corridors buzzed with excitement, but he felt no joy in their victory. As they entered orbit, he gazed down at the blue-green world below. Countless lives had been lost or irrevocably changed by his actions. The weight of it all pressed down on him, threatening to crush his spirit. Captain, Mike said softly, interrupting his thoughts. They're ready for you in the shuttle bay. The victory parade is about to begin. Aaron nodded, his expression unreadable. He turned and walked off the bridge, each step carrying him further from the man he once was, and closer to an uncertain future shaped by the choices he had made.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.